Well, it's a good morning and welcome here from Cheltenham, Gloucestershire in the hail. We've got hail out there. It's just chucking it down. The weather is atrocious at the moment. 17th of May, of course, and the world is opening up. Well, it is here in the UK anyway. Well, kind of opening up, really. People can go indoors and have a beer now, which is quite a good thing with the weather as it is. So people are probably enjoying that one. Mortgage market for you. Got some lovely little tips and techniques and ideas for you over the next 20 minutes or so. I want to pick up on the conveyancing system. I've got some ideas to help you to distinguish yourself from the crowd, because there's a lot of mortgage brokers coming into the marketplace now, and it's getting quite competitive. And I want to pick up on CPD and how you can make it really work for you. But been reading about this opening up of the economy and people going into offices now more and more, and I get all that. And a lot of mortgage lending firms are getting back into the office because they kind of work well together and people bounce off ideas and all those great things. I totally get all of that. Whether people will stay at home working, I don't know. There may be a hybrid. A bit of a backlash. No, people don't want to be at home anymore, do they? But what tickles me, though, is the world of BDMs, business development managers. Now, I know them. I know lots of them. I love them to bits. Was one myself. And it's a great job and very difficult job, too, because they're all targeted, you see, with how many of you guys they go and see and talk to. They're targeted on that. So they like to rock up in the car with the donuts and say hi. And they're all on LinkedIn saying how desperate they are to get out there and meet brokers again, face to face at the venues, that sort of thing. But I don't know hardly any brokers that actually want them to come to see them face to face. I think there's a bit of a mismatch to the industry there. The BDMs want to get out there and meet brokers face to face. Brokers don't particularly want to see them face to face. They actually quite like the video or the webinar based stuff. It gives them what they want. Brokers they're pretty intelligent people. They know what they want to do. It's funny that, no? And all these industry dinners, I just hope they don't come back. I rock up at an industry dinner where everybody votes for everybody else, a bit like the Eurovision Song Contest, if you see one of these things, where Estonia votes for Lithuania and Lithuania then votes for Estonia. You get the same thing at the industry dinners. All the lenders are sponsoring and voting for each other. It's just amazing. It's marketing money basically goes on those things, isn't it? I think they should spend that money on educating brokers instead, because brokers don't get training anymore via the big banks that used to have these big sales forces. So they're desperate for that kind of thing now. But that's another issue, isn't it? Talk to me about that if you want to. Anyway, let's get into some serious stuff now. What I want to talk about now is just a brief overview, really, of the English and Welsh conveyancing system. Now, you might have noticed this over on my shoulder for those of you watching the live stream. For those of you watching the or listening to the podcast, you can't see it, but it's a picture. You may recognise this picture. You might need to zoom in a bit, really, if you want to see this. But this is Vale Street in Bristol in December 2020. Now, it happens to be the steepest street in the UK, which is pretty impressive, isn't it? I wouldn't fancy parking my car up there, would you? You'd have to have a good handbrake, otherwise things would go completely Pete Tong, wouldn't they? But this was very famous. Probably heard the story. A Banksy, or one of his team, went out there and painted a great piece called the Achoo piece, and it's a picture there. You can just about make it out. Somebody sneezing. It's all to do with COVID, I guess. But Banksy's paintings are very, very valuable. People find them on their walls suddenly in Bristol or areas like that, and they're worth a huge amount of money. Anyway, the story was that this particular owner of this property here, you can see this kind of like a Victorian bay-fronted property. This owner of this property had the house on the market and had accepted an offer from somebody, and it was progressing well. People were spending money on surveys and all those good things. Anyway, once Banksy's picture was put there on one evening in December, the following couple of days the vendor mysteriously pulled out of the sale. They didn't really give a reason. I think it was a change of heart or something. And I thought to myself, that's particularly wrong, really, isn't it? The pure fact is, though, that this vendor's house suddenly became worth another $500,000 or million or whatever it was because of Banksy's painting. So if he sold it, as he was planning to do, he would have sold the painting to the next owner. And he didn't want to do that, so you can understand. But this kind of kills the whole point about the English and Welsh system, isn't it? Because effectively, this purchaser of this property was gazanged. Have you heard those phrases before? Gazanging, gazundering, and gazumping, they call it. Now, gazanging, you can't make this stuff up, can you? Gazanging is where the vendor just changes their mind and pulls out. So I think her name was Eileen Macon. She gazanged the purchaser, who probably spent a few grand on fees and stuff like that, and time as well. And no repercussions whatsoever, because the English and Welsh system allows you to do that. As you know, of course, when you make an offer on a property in England and Wales, it's offer subject to contract, and then chains get put together, and everybody starts drawing up their contracts and doing their surveys and applying for their mortgages. Contracts are drawn up by each party, then they're exchanged, and once exchange of contracts occurs, they can't turn back. Well, you can, but you're going to lose a lot of money and get sued for it as well. But anybody up until exchange of contracts can pull out, and they do, and it causes havoc to the whole system. You see, it takes time. Nobody spends any money in England and Wales before offers are accepted. Vendor doesn't spend a lot of money, an energy report maybe on their property, that's only 100 quid. The estate agent doesn't charge any money until the house is sold. They may pay a few bob for marketing up front, but the vendor hasn't spent anything. The applicant hasn't spent anything before they make an offer either, apart from time. They might have gone to a broker, got a mortgage agreed in principle, but that didn't cost anything. So no money is spent. As soon as the offers are accepted, subject to contract, money then starts to be spent. A lot of money too. Surveys, searches, application fees, all sorts of things get spent. And then when you exchange contracts, you can't then turn back. So people lose a lot of money. Now, Eileen did a gazanging on the poor purchase of this property. You might have heard of gazumping and gazundering. Gazumping is where the vendor gets a better offer. At the moment, of course, the housing market is rising. The vendor 3 or 4 weeks later, once everything's going through, might get a higher offer from somebody else who just waltzes in, offers another 10 grand. So the vendor says, I'll have your offer instead, and pulls out of the first one. That's known as gazumping. Not particularly nice, really. Okay, it's legal, not illegal, but it's not particularly nice. Gazundering is where the purchaser turns the table and offers a lower amount of money to the vendor. That could be in a falling market, for example, or it could be that a survey has revealed a lot of defects and they're offering a lower figure. So you've got gazumping, gazundering, and gazanging. It's gracious me, as I said, you can't make this stuff up, can you? But of course, it's the fault of the English and Welsh system. So what are the ways of solving that? Well, let's put a few ideas up here for you. You've got England and Wales, which is, I think it's Northern Ireland as well, shares the system where you have to exchange contracts. And once you've exchanged contracts, that's when you can't back out. Well, you can theoretically, but you lose a lot of money. Now, in Scotland, it's very different, and a lot of people reckon that we should adopt the Scottish method, and I kind of believe that as well. I think the Scots have got it right up there, actually. Canny nation, the Scots, very intelligent people, very proud people as well. So that's a good thing, because they devised this system, which is hundreds of years old. The Scots law is hundreds of years old. The Register of Sessions, I think, was the 17th century, where they used to register properties. But in Scotland, they have Scots law. And what happens here is a lot of work's done before contracts are exchanged. They call it concluding the missives. Do you like that word, do you? Concluding the missives. I think it's pronounced that way. It's probably some other pronunciation. Concluding missives, which is similar. Now, once missives have been concluded, you can't then back out. So it's the same concept as exchanging contracts. But the way the system in Scotland works is quite clever, because the vendor does a lot of work before they put the house on the market. They create a pack, effectively. Now, in this pack, there's a condition report in there, which is a decent survey, which you can rely upon, actually. There's also a lot of legal preparation in there as well. There's almost like a contract drawn up as well. There's all sorts of information about the property in this pack, like a sort of seller's pack. And it means that when you note your interest, there's a phrase they often use up there, when you note your interest, in other words, you've viewed the property, you quite like it, and you're keen to move forward on it, you note your interest, you get sent this pack. So you get to have a look at the survey, you get to have a look at some of the legal aspects, is it freehold, a tenement block, or whatever it is, and it allows you to make a very informed decision whether to go ahead or not. Naturally, you need to have your mortgage kind of agreed in principle as well. But once you've got that, you then put your interest in. There's often sealed bids as well, so that they choose the best bidder, if you like, all the interests that have been noted. And people mostly submit their offer without any conditions at all. There's no qualifying offers. So somebody submits their offer and that's it. It's normally offers over in Scotland, but it does depend on the market. So you might offer £220,000 with no conditions. That's your offer. A vendor will look at these offers, pick the one they like, and then misses are then concluded. So it's darn quick. It doesn't have to be quick. So some people submit an offer subject to a survey maybe, or subject to the mortgage being completed. And that, of course, the vendor can accept that if they want to. They won't conclude misses until all those conditions have been satisfied. So it might stretch the process a little bit. But mostly a vendor will pick somebody that can move very quickly. So a lot of the work's done by the vendor. Applicant does spend a little bit of money, but not really, because the survey's done by the vendor. So they'll get their mortgage agreed in principle, which you should do anyway. It's a good thing to do. So then you've got misses being concluded. So it's a lot quicker. It's a lot quicker. And we wouldn't have this problem. We tried to solve the problem actually a few years back. I don't know if anyone remembers the Home Information Pack, or HIP as they call it. It was brought in by Gordon Brown. Do you remember Gordon Brown? He didn't have a very long career as a Prime Minister, did he? I think the financial crash killed that. But he introduced the Home Information Pack, or maybe Tony Blair did. And the whole point about the HIP was that it was a pack that vendors would create, very similar to the Scottish system, really. It had a survey in there. It had an energy report and various other legal information to help you buy the property. But it never really took off. It just died, really, because it was going to cost the vendors over £1,000, and vendors didn't want to pay it because they felt they couldn't do so. It makes you think, doesn't it? If you're serious about selling, spending £1,000 on some of these things isn't actually a bad thing. It stops people gazanging. It would have stopped old Eileen pulling out, wouldn't it, if she forked out £1,000? But then again, £500,000 for a Banksy is pretty much a big draw, really. You might well have done it yourself as well. So you've been Banksy, didn't you? Like at the end of the day. But so you've got gazanging, gazundering, gazumping. Have you got Gazbanksied? Gazbanksied? It doesn't quite work, but you know what I mean. She pulled out as a result of it. So, moral of the story, really. English and Welsh law is okay, but there's a lot of problems. There really is. The Scots law, maybe that's what we need to have. And that's the end of that session. Bye. Yeah, I like it. Is it Gazbanksied? I quite like that one. Gazbanksied. You like that one, do you? Gazbanksied might actually work, mightn't it? How are you doing, everyone? Are you doing okay? Everybody fine? Are you well on this May Day in the mortgage sector? Hope you're well. We've got loads of great things going on this year for mortgage brokers as well, because you're not getting lots of training at the moment, are you? I hear lots of stories of mortgage advisors having to go self-employed. They don't really want to go self-employed, they've got any choice. And they're joining networks now which are getting huge numbers of people coming in, and they're so worried about compliance at the moment because the FCA are worried about it too. That's where their focus is. So very few skills are being developed, very little coaching or support or training going on in the sector, apart from technical, of course, which is very worrying, because the old days the banks and building societies would have done all of that. So we've got some online stuff coming our way. Actually, we've got like an inner circle which we're creating this summer, where you can come on, pay a few pounds, not a huge amount, and get some really good online video training from my good self, and that's coming up in the summer. So get on our database if you're not already on it. So sign up for one of our database thingies on our website, or email me. I'll put you on the database and we'll keep you posted. Let's get on to another topic, shall we? Let's get on to a nice topic for you, which is how to distinguish yourself in a crowd of advisors. So let's put a little title up here for you. I want you to discover how to distinguish yourself. In other words, how to be different amongst a crowd of advisors. So that's what we're looking at here now, how to distinguish yourself amongst a crowd of advisors. Because at the moment, there are a lot of people coming into the marketplace, and it's beginning to resemble a good old car boot sale. Remember those things, car boot sales? Haven't happened since COVID, where people would rock up in their cars and sell all sorts of things. Now, a good old car boot sale would be a sort of a place where people pretty much sold everything, same items, really. Everybody had the same stuff on their car boot. So the business went to the ones with the best pitch, or the ones who are the loudest. And unfortunately, the mortgage market's not getting dissimilar to that metaphor. Mortgage advisors who shout the loudest are getting business. Ones with the best pitch are getting the business. And that's not right, really, because essentially most mortgage advisors are selling the same old thing, really, when it comes down to it. I'm sure they would argue the case, but they're selling the same old thing. So what I want to do now is share you an elegant technique you can bring in to distinguish yourself slightly in the marketplace. It's a very modern, contemporary technique that you can use. Now, if you think about it, clients defend their beliefs and values. That's what this one's about. It's about your beliefs, your values, your morals. People defend the environment, won't they? Big time. People scorn over unethical practices. We shout down the fat cats, the corporate fat cats, and we don't think that's right as well. Everyone's got a march going on. Everybody has values, beliefs, and ethics. Okay, companies do too. They put a poster up in the reception. It's not really good enough, or they put something on their websites, but you've got to breathe these. So here's how you can do this. Actually, you can get yourself a bit of a steal over competitors. Ask your clients questions very early on. When you're doing your qualifying, your qualifying is when you're trying to find out whether they are serious to move forward or not. I call it motivation, ability, and need. Motivation, ability, need are the three areas in which you need to qualify people. And one thing you might want to ask them about is what's important to them. So 3 questions to ask the client here, really. What's important to you in the loan that we arrange for you? So what's important to you? There you go. What's important to you in the loan or the mortgage that we arrange for you is one good question to ask. What do you value most in a firm? What do you value most in the firm that we put you to, or the lender that we put you to, or what do you value most in the mortgage broking firm that you want to use? Or it could be, what's your number one concern? So what's your number one concern in the mortgage that we arrange for you? Now these are generic values, criteria based questions where you're going to get the criteria or the values from your clients, because they will have them. They will have some. And they will, particularly the younger generation, will want to attach these values to the product they buy. They will. It's the way people roll nowadays. And if you ask these questions, they'll tell you, sit back and listen carefully. Don't just machine gun the question. Ask the question, go quiet, give them eye contact and let them talk. Learn some listening techniques as well. And they'll tell you what's important to them. What do they value most? And the whole idea is that you make a note of these, because when you present your solution later, you link your solution to the values and the criteria of the customer. Now that will help you to distinguish yourself from the competition. And it works really well. Gone are the days where you do features, advantage, benefits. That's a thing of the past. Now it's about presenting a particular lender. So you might be in the second charge business and you might be presenting 1 or 2 lenders. West One, for example, you might be presenting a lender such as that. And the customer might think, well, who on earth are they? And you can say, well, they've been established for so many years. And they're very much into the environment, and they're contributing at the moment quite a few £1 million towards the environmental measures in the business that they're in. So you might want to look at the green credentials as well. So this is something that people find really, really important. So that's about matching the solution, the product, the lender, you, to the values and the criteria of the client. And then you will stand out amongst the crowd of mortgage advisors. So that's a little technique for you called criteria. It certainly works. And if you think about car boot sales, I can't remember the last time I've been to a car boot sale. I think it died a death, haven't they, with COVID? Like eBay's taken over, isn't it? It's a great big car boot sale, isn't it? At the end of the day, hope you found it useful. Bye. Good stuff, everybody. Good. Okay, let's just finish off then with a tiny little section, really. I want to give you some values today. Oh, by the way, my values are honesty and integrity. They're mine. Honesty and integrity. I've got nothing to prove nowadays. I believe in honesty, integrity, doing the right thing for people at a good price, and let people get value from it. We're all about here helping people to become really good mortgage advisors. That's what we're looking to do. Okay, we make a few quid along the way in the products and services and boot camps that we sell. Got to pay the bills, haven't you? But we actually are destined to provide a lot of new mortgage people into the market with integrity, with morals, with ethics. That's really, really important to us. That's what we do. Last little tip for you, last little idea for you is how to make your CPD stick. This one's called. How to make your CPD stick. Now, CPD, of course, is your continued professional development. So how to make it stick, how to make it work. Now, those of you that are qualified, you need to carry on doing CPD. You don't have to by law, that should change really, but you should be doing 50 plus 100 hours a year as CPD to develop yourself continually, because you are selling your brain. You're selling what's inside there. You're not selling a product, are you? So you need to keep that brain sharp. Now, here's the metaphor for you. I present on camera pretty much every day now. That's what I'm doing now. I'm talking to you via camera, and I'm talking to a camera lens, two actually over there. One lens for the live stream and one for our HD recording. And it works okay. I can improve, of course I can, but I've pretty much got some good cameras there. I've got some reasonable lighting around me here. I've got whiteboard or different backgrounds, and everything goes pretty well. The one thing I do struggle with though is what to wear on camera. And that's where my partner Shelley comes in handy, because Shelley is very good at that sort of thing, and she will go out and get me things to wear. And she bought this sort of rugby shirt for me a couple of weeks ago. I would never have bought this with a sort of a denim collar. That's not who I am. I'm very traditional. But she buys these things for me, mostly online, of course, because of lockdown. But here's the catch. Here's the issue here. She then spends a lot of time stylizing the outfit that she's bought for me. It might be, for example, a shirt, and she'll spend time getting some bracelets for me to wear. I've got these sort of bracelet things that you wear, and Shelley gets these things for me. She might, for example, make me roll up the sleeves slightly, or unbutton a couple of the buttons, one or two of those, to stylize whatever it is that I'm wearing, because that to her is very important. Everything you see needs stylizing. That's the point about learning and development. If you're going to get some learning and development, which is fine, you might, for example, go online on your laptop and watch some webinars or some training. You might listen to some podcasts. You might watch some YouTube videos. You might be lucky enough to attend some workshops or some training that's going on as well. And if that's the case, then you will get very generic information. If it's a podcast, it's generic. If it's YouTube, it's generic. If it's a webinar, it's generally generic. Generic means it's from a textbook, or it's pretty standard stuff, really. And that's great. What you need to do is stylize your learning. You need to take what it is they're teaching you, and you need to adapt it, change it, squeeze it, tailor it to suit the world that you're in. You need to make it work for you, as opposed to making it generic. That way, of course, it will be useful for you and you can use it. Now, we do that with our training. We make sure that what we teach you, we actually help you to stylize it. We do coaching after our training when we can, and I'll talk to somebody for 20 minutes about stylizing the training into their world, making it right for you. But that's the way to make your CPD stick. Don't just consume generic stuff or books or whatever it is. But spend some time either on your own or with a coach to stylize it along the way. And that's the message, really. Now, Zoom, of course, is great. Videos are great. People once said that Zoom is pretty straightforward. Dressing for Zoom is easy. But if you think dressing for Zoom is easy, think again. Dressing for the office was hard enough, wasn't it? But I think dressing for Zoom is even harder, because Shelley then helps me out with those sort of things. I hope you like the denim collar with the shirt. No stripes here, by the way, no polka dots. Don't have any stripes because they go all worry, don't they? And all those good things. Anyway, who the hell are these from? Bye. Great work. Okay, good. Let's wrap up then, shall we, for our mortgage live stream. Didn't do one last week because I was in Edinburgh on a little hollybobs, so I was enjoying that I didn't do a live stream because, well, I didn't. I was on holidays. Nothing wrong with that, is there? We've got quite a few exciting things coming up for you. We've got the next boot camp starting on the 7th of June. Gates are open now, so you can log on to that and come into that one for you. The boot camp is where you get a stylized, personalized help along with 25 other people on what we call a cohort. You get access to the online course that we have where you can consume all the stuff, but then we help 25 people along the way with personalized weekly Zoom sessions as well, if you want them, kind of encouraging you. It's an encouragement group, if you like, to get your CMAPs done within 4 months, which is the target that we give you on a cohort system. That's starting on the 7th of June, so make sure you get online to find out about that as well. So you can always talk to me via below if you're on YouTube, or email me, whatever is easier for, or the website archertraining.com. But certainly help you with that. Make sure you subscribe. We'll be back here next week with some more information for you to help you in the mortgage market. Other than that, think we've covered everything? Yeah, I think we have. I'll see you all next week.